Next to the podium, U.S. Senator, South Dakota, the Honorable John Thune, also known as Dad by our sponsor. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Larry. Good morning. It's great to be with all of you. This is a great Navy tradition, special honor for the city of Pierre and for all of South Dakota. It's also a good day for the Navy, the men and women of our joint forces and our allies, and for our continued investment to defend our freedoms and national security interests around the world. And of course, it's a special morning for my family as well, as I have the privilege of momentarily introducing my daughter Larissa as the ship's sponsor. Now, some of you might be wondering why our state capital, Pierre, is receiving the honor of being the namesake of the LCS 38. After all, we're not a seafaring state. In fact, just north of Allen, South Dakota, is what's called the North America's Pole of Inaccessibility. That is the farthest point away from any ocean. It's over 1,000 miles in any direction to reach an ocean. But South Dakota does have a proud history of military service, including our Navy service. And I'm honored to be here today, of course, with all of you, but my colleague and partner, Mike Rounds, as he pointed out, is a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, which is tasked with authorizing ships like the LCS and other in our national security's important interests, and of course the mayor of Pierre, Steve Harding, who is someone that I've known, as he said, for over 30 years now. I was born in Pierre. Mike Rounds, of course, not only was born and grew up in Pierre, represented Pierre in the state Senate, later as our state's governor, and now in the United States Senate. And of course, it's great to be with Congressman Carl, who represents this district and all of you so well in advocating for your interests in Washington, D.C. And I found out, too, also has a rich shipbuilding heritage. But as Howard pointed out earlier, when he asked about South Dakota and the Navy, we do have a fairly rich Navy history. And he mentioned my dad, Larissa's grandfather, who flew F-6F Hellcats off of the USS Intrepid during World War II. An interesting point about that, my dad grew up in a little town of Myrtle, which is where I grew up, and there was also a guy in his squadron, in fact, the lead flight officer in his squadron. My dad was the assistant flight officer in the squadron in World War II, was a guy named Cecil Harris from a small town called Faulkton, South Dakota. My dad, as Howard mentioned, received the Distinguished Flying Cross for shooting down 4 enemy aircraft over what is now Taiwan in the Battle of Leyte Gulf. And Cecil Harris from Faulkton, South Dakota, shot down 24 enemy aircraft. And my dad always said this, and I don't know if anyone's ever disproved this. My dad said South Dakota is the only state in the nation that had 2 aces with more than 20 shoot-downs. So Joe Foss is a well-known South Dakota name. He went on to be governor of South Dakota, commissioner of the AFL, commissioner of the NRA. And we have an airport named for him in South Dakota. Joe Foss shot down 26 as a Marine. Cecil Harris shot down 24. And here we are, a landlocked state you wouldn't think would be, known for our Navy prowess. But one of the things they always said is the hand-eye coordination that comes with shooting pheasants in South Dakota translated into aerial combat. But these guys were all the real deal. And their service as part of the greatest generation instilled in me a deep appreciation for the men and women who serve in our armed forces and for the sacrifices that they make, often far away from home and loved ones, so that we might live in freedom and safety. And it's our men and women in uniform foremost who get the job done to protect our nation. And I want to thank any veterans who are here today, just how much we appreciate your service. But of course, it's essential for them to be able to use that courage and dedication to be backed up with modern and capable equipment, which is why today it is exciting to partake in the tradition of authenticating the keel of a future U.S. warship. There's no mistaking the fact that the threats beyond our shores are becoming more sophisticated and dynamic. And when Pierre joins the fleet, she will give our combatant commanders an agile platform that expands their ability to establish presence and to project power. But getting her to the fleet is first up to the talented shipbuilders who are here at Austral, and we know you will pour the same dedication into your respective crafts and trades that our sailors exhibit while they are at sea. So thank you for lending your talents to this effort, and we wish you a smooth and safe construction. And lastly, as I said, it's a special day for me to have the honor of introducing the ship's sponsor, Larissa Thune Hartgens. I've had countless reasons to be proud of her throughout her life. I've watched her grow up to become her own individual, build a special bond with her older sister, get involved in her church and her community, excel at sports, take great pride in her education, and build a family and professional life. All of that while dealing with being in the family of a politician, which is no easy feat itself. But it never dawned on me that she should also grow up to one day become the sponsor of a U.S. ship. So it's a truly special and unique honor. We've looked forward to this day ever since then Secretary of the Navy, Richard Spencer, shared the news in February of 2019. And Mr. Tran, I can't speak to her welding ability, but Larissa is otherwise very well qualified and suited to sponsor the LCS 38. First, she has a patriotic love of our great nation. She believes that America is a force for good and that its leadership in the world is essential. Our Navy, backed by our shipbuilders, has played a key role in that leadership for nearly 250 years. President Theodore Roosevelt, who's memorialized at Mount Rushmore in South Dakota, once served as Assistant Secretary of the Navy, and he said that a good Navy is not a provocation to war, it is the surest guarantee of peace. I know Larissa will also be a supportive advocate for the ship and her crew. And one of the hardest parts of my job working in Washington is the extended time away from family, which I know my colleagues here in Congress also can appreciate. My wife Larissa and my wife Kimberly and our other daughter Brittany, my colleagues in the congressional delegation know that well, but it's nothing compared to the sacrifice that is made by the men and women who serve our military and have to deploy for long periods of time. And so we have tremendous empathy and appreciation and gratitude for the role that's played by the U.S. Navy. Larissa will keep a watchful eye on the ship and her crew as they stand the watch for us here at home. Larissa, I wish you the best in this role as you steward this honor for our state. May God bless the USS Pierre and all who sail her, and may He continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.